chapter chairperson, past chairpersons, distinguished governing body, committee members, and members flow. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you for the first spirituality event of the year. We also have something very special, the launch of a new vertical, Atmanirbhar, this evening. Well, could there really be a better time to discuss spirituality? If anything, these times have taught us to live one day at a time, to inhale gratitude, and to make each moment about what's within ourselves. Combined with the knowledge of within and without, we mark the onset of this spectacular and remarkable event. I'd like to now call upon esteemed chairperson, Mrs. Radhika Gupta, to throw more light on the proceedings. And also, ladies, I'd like to inform all of you that while the event is going on, our chat box will be open. So any questions, any queries for Mr. Nithya Shanti ji, please put it in there. At the end of the evening, we will be judging two best questions, and our esteemed guests, Mrs. Neha Gupta from Leaford and Mrs. Megha Sharma from Orica, shall be giving out a small token of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. A very good evening to my dear Flow fraternity. I hope all your loved ones are safe and healthy. Gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom. Sharing it is the first step to humanity. This year, women have played vital roles from being frontline workers, police force, and social workers. They say a woman is a full circle. Within her is a power to create, nurture, and transform. In the new normal, we are looking to reaffirm the Flow mission to educate, elevate, and empower, with special emphasis on spreading knowledge and skill throughout the year for our Flow members. Team Flow Ludhiana is very proud today to announce the launch of its educational wing, Atmanirbhar. I learn, I lead, I liberate, under the able leadership of our past chairperson, Mrs. Divya Oswal, and our senior vice chairperson, Mrs. Neha Gupta.
I've logged you in. I don't know where you're stuck.
Powered by...
I logged you again. Okay, I'll make a fresh table.
IT team, please mute. So Team Flow Ludhiana is proudly presents its educational wing, Atmanirbhar. I learn, I lead, I liberate, under the able leadership of our past chairperson, Mrs. Divya Oswal, and senior vice chairperson, Mrs. Neha Gupta.
Anyway, chalo, log out everyone.
Arman EduLabs, and sponsored by Leaford India. In this, we are undertaking digital, financial, and legal literacy. Now, I will invite Mrs. Neha Gupta to come and enlighten us about the vertical. Over to you, Neha.
Are you making the table or should I make? Okay.
I request the IT team, can you please mute everyone? Thank you so much, Radhika. Good evening, ladies, and a warm welcome to Nithya Shanti ji. Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope brings the change. We at Flow Atmanirbhar firmly believe that education is a powerful tool to bring that change. It is my proud privilege to launch and introduce our Flow visionaries who have collaborated to spearhead Atmanirbhar, a wing to spread knowledge this year. Along with me, I have Shilpa Mittal, Nitika Bansal, Divya Oswal, and Hina Singla. IT team, can we please have the video?
Knowledge is power. It is very liberating. It is very uplifting. It sees no age. It sees no gender. It is a premise of progress in every family, every society.
Knowledge is power. To overcome the past, to shape the future, to change the world. And imagine if knowledge is that powerful, then knowledge shared is power multiplied.
We at Flow Atmanirbhar wish to multiply that power manifolds with our Flow fraternity through choices of courses, programs, and workshops throughout the
From
year.
ABCs of finance to ruling the stock market, from courses at IIM to public speaking workshops, from best career counselors to city's first educational conclave.
We have it all lined up for you so that you can learn without limits and strive without fear. After all, an Atmanirbhar Nari is the true flow woman.
Switch off the audio of that one.
If that has left all very inquisitive, let me share what we have in store for you this year. We will begin with intensive workshops on financial literacy, a must for women today, followed by stock market program, the first all-women curriculum, where you would learn how to trade in the stock market independently. Public speaking and writing skills workshop, tools that are imperative in every profession and field for women. Would you want your child to be an early achiever or work on projects that matter and then finally make the cut to a dream college? Well, we have it all sorted for you. Furthermore, you can look forward to an online or on-campus educational retreat to IIM Bangalore. And the very first educational conclave of the city, and a lot more knowledge exchange all around the year. So we look forward for maximum participation from all our Flow fraternity in the workshop and programs that will unfold. Now over to my co-head of Atmanirbhar, who is also the past chairperson, dear friend, my mentor, Divya Oswal. Over to you, Divya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you for those kind words and for a fantastic preview of what we have for our members throughout the year. A very good evening, dear friends. It's extremely humbling that Radhika has entrusted us with the responsibility of this magnificent vertical, Atmanirbhar, and we hope we can take it to greater heights. What is even more humbling is the chance to be in conversation with our guest today, Nithya Shanti ji. IT team. Can we please have Nithya Shanti ji in the spotlight to IT team? Well, that's him. Yes, a very, very warm welcome and a big, how wonderful beginning to you, Nithya Shanti ji. I
Good
have
to be here, Divya. Thank you. And
thank you.
It's
our pleasure entirely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So to tell you a little bit about our guest today, dear friends, he's one of the most coveted and an internationally acclaimed spiritual guru, a teacher and facilitator of joyful and conscious living. From the concrete corporate world to being a forest meditation monk, his journey has been impeccable. Many have found his light-hearted manner and practical techniques life-changing. His workshops are called joy shops, and rightly so, as they are the gateway to a happier and more fulfilling life. Nithya Shanti ji, once again, how wonderful to have you here. And ladies, I'm using this word, these words, how wonderful, with great affinity, as they hold a very special meaning when they're associated with Nithya Shanti ji. And I will not have to point out any questions for this word. Believe me, you're having an entire explanation around it coming your way by default. But to begin with, Nithya Shanti ji, you have helped many to get in touch with their inner self, leading to a personal development and spiritual awakening. From your experience, your learning, your teachings, what is spirituality in true sense? And what are these three types that you mentioned in your teachings is how I'd like to begin the evening with. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Divya, for the warm introduction. Thank you, Radhika, for inviting me. Good to be here with all of you. I enjoyed all the nice little video that were played before this. And just one thing before I get into your question, I was driving with my Nandini to Goa. We actually had a retreat there some years back. And she mentioned to me, she'd been for a women's workshop where they said something that kind of blew her mind. And I thought that's a nice thing. And I was watching these videos that came to my mind. So she said that the facilitator said in that workshop that most people think that the essence of woman is love and the essence of man is power. But actually it's the other way around. The essence of women is actually power. And the essence of men is actually love. And how do we know that? Because whatever is your essence, you don't look for that. That's what you are. So women, one way of saying it, like men their whole life go looking for power. Why do they go looking for power? Because their essence is actually love. And women sometimes we can say go looking for love because their essence is actually power. So as we start the session, especially since you talked about Atmanirbhar, then I want to, in fact, that's a good place to begin. That how do you discover love? By coming into your power. And how do men discover power? By getting in touch with love. So it's the opposite of what we are told, right? In fact, the word for woman is actually Shakti, isn't it? Shiva's consort is Shakti. So that right there, you have it. Even Indian mythology is talking about Shakti is pure power. So the whole journey of coming into your power, that's when you will discover true love. As long as you keep seeking love, you will be missing out, because love is in a way validation. Give me validation, give me validation. Keep missing the point. So I just love that. And I thought I was reminded of that as I was watching the videos. So spirituality. For me, it's really simple. I was not even interested in spirituality. I was just living my life. And I happened to go for a meditation retreat. And my mother actually, I don't even know I'm going for a meditation retreat. My mother said she's going for a Vipassana retreat. I said, what's that? She said, I don't know what it is. I'm just going for 3 days and we'll be living in silence. What will you do in silence? I don't know. But I have a friend who I've admired for many years. Her friend was also, my mother was a businesswoman. So her friend, she had admired for many years. And she asked her friend, how come I've never seen, in these 10, 12 years I've known you, I've never once seen you lose your cool. I've never once seen you frazzled or agitated or stressed. What's your secret? So her friend had told her, I do Vipassana meditation. So my mother was looking to do it. But as you know, everyone's busy. And so normally if you've heard of Vipassana, it's a 10-day meditation course. And so my mother could never take out 10 days, but there was a rare opportunity. They were experimenting those days. So they had a rare, what they called executive meditation course, executive, like for the busy executive. So 3-day course. So she was going for that. She took me along and I didn't know what I'm getting into. I took my note, I used to like reading and I used to always have my Sony Walkman with me. I could listen to music, but they took away my Walkman and they took away my books. And they said, what you're going to be reading is you. And what you're going to be listening to is your own inner voice. So for 3 days, we practiced meditation. And that was a very important experience for me because the 3 levels of spirituality you talked about, that's kind of what I got a glimpse of over there. So the 3 levels of spirituality are the spirituality of thinking and beliefs, the spirituality of emotion and sentimentality, and the spirituality, which is also known as mysticism, which is the spirituality of high concentration. So most of us begin with one of the first 2. You'll either begin with learning something and liking those ideas, and you read about whether you're a Sikh or whether you're a Christian or whether you're Hindu or whatever you are. You'll read it and these are very nice ideas. You like the ideas, and it engages you intellectually, right? And that's good, but it's only good up to a point, because as we all know, we're all pretty top heavy, isn't it? We have so many ideas, and then they don't come into our life, and it's so bugging when you know all these things. In fact, even sessions like this can get tedious beyond a point. What's the point coming and getting all inspired, but knowing that nothing much changes beyond the point, because between the head and the hand is the heart. And until the heart is moved, the change doesn't really come. So which is why the second level of spirituality is the spirituality of deep emotion. So for example, Bhakti Marg is when you can even cry tears of gratitude. In fact, one of my teachers said, if you haven't broken down and cried at least 3 times, your practice hasn't even begun yet. So we have to touch a certain vulnerability in our practice. I mean, I've certainly sometimes broken down and cried, just seeing how foolish I can be, right? Or just feeling the grace of my teachers and the whole way that life has organized itself. But there's something beyond that as well, even beyond sentimentality and emotion, deep emotion, is the spirituality of high concentration. And actually, this is the heart of spirituality. So it doesn't matter what path you take, whether you take the Gyan Marg or the Bhakti Marg or the Karma Yoga path, doesn't matter. Ultimately, it has to come to a place of feeling one with whatever you're doing. So can I speak right now from a place of being one with myself, being connected to myself, and being connected to all of you? I come from a tradition. I was like she mentioned, Divya mentioned, and Neha mentioned, I was a monk for some years. I lived as a Buddhist monk. And in this tradition, you develop meditation not only with eyes closed. Everything you're doing has to become a meditation. Whether you're cleaning your bowl, our teachers would tell us, think of your bowl as the Buddha's head. How would you wash the Buddha's head? You'd be super careful. You don't want to drop the Buddha's head, right? So you're very careful. There's a whole protocol about how you wash it, how you dry it, how you sun it. And a good monk, well, good, whatever. Many monks can actually keep their bowl their whole life without damaging it, because we do it mindfully, we do it carefully. We would stitch our own robes, because when you, like, you know, all of you are wearing beautiful clothes, but they're just one out of a lot of clothes that you have. But suppose you had to make those clothes yourself, you'd be very proud of them, and you keep them very carefully. So monks we make our own, at least in my tradition, we make our own robes. And one of the things about my tradition is our teacher would say, when you have to give a talk, don't prepare your talk. I said, really? Don't prepare it? But shouldn't we be ready? He said, don't prepare your head, prepare your heart. In other words, don't prepare your content, prepare your intent. When you're preparing your content, at some level, trying to impress people, I hope you like what I say. I hope I add some value to your life. You know, that's preparing content. I hope I teach you something different, something new. But when you prepare intent, then you're really getting in touch with your own heart, and you're getting in touch with the living spirit of everyone that you're addressing. And this requires you to empty yourself. So these are broadly the three kinds of spirituality: the spirituality of thought, the spirituality of emotion. And we need to come to the third one. Until then, you haven't really even begun the journey of spirituality. That is the journey of mysticism, which means pouring your full being. In fact, there's a nice word I learned recently from the Greek language. It's called meraki. M-E-R-A-K-I, meraki.
Meraki.
Did my connection break? I'll say it again. Meraki, M-E-R-A-K-I, meraki. Meraki is a Greek word. And meraki means do something with your whole heart, with all your love, with all your creativity. Why? You should leave a little bit of yourself in everything you do. How beautiful. So in fact, I invented a new word out of that. You know, we say miraculous. So I said a better word than miraculous is miraculous.
Miraculous. Correct.
So miraculous is the third level of spirituality that we're talking about. Back to you, Divya.
Beautiful insight. And there's so much coming to my mind as follow-ups. Let me first catch on to the very first thing that you talked about us. It's an all-women's forum. You're around a lot of Shakti, Nithya ji, a lot of Shakti in the one Zoom room. And in fact, it was one of my questions which was supposed to come in a little later, but now that we're already discussing the Shakti, and well, immodestly so, yes, we are the Shakti. The only, how should I put this? It's just that from the very beginning, this Shakti has been somehow nurtured to be a role model for many. So maybe the perfect daughter, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and well, no complaints there. The thing is that there are too many roles to be played, and thus it becomes inevitable for the Shakti to overthink. Now, I've heard in your sessions how you demystify the whole overthinking process. I'm sure this room full of very powerful and hardworking women end up thinking beyond their capacity to, burdened probably not just with their day jobs, with their chores, but maybe with their commitments, and perhaps because they want to be best at what they're doing. You talk about elimination of overthinking, in fact, completely. Can you please enlighten us a little bit on that, so that a lot of women over here, I'm sure, will have a big burden lifted off their shoulder?
Beautiful. What a great question. In fact, just today I was thinking, reading a book, and it was talking about how there is a tradition of what they call dirty goddesses. The dirty goddesses are not bound by the way the good goddesses are supposed to behave. So for example, have you heard that phrase that good girls go to heaven?
Good girls go to heaven.
And bad girls go wherever the hell they want. So if you notice how women are conditioned from a young age, how they should laugh. So many of my friends, when they laugh, they'll cover their mouth. And I ask them, why do you cover your mouth? And they don't even think about it because they were taught as when you laugh, shouldn't show your teeth, or your mouth shouldn't be, it's not ladylike. Or you sit a certain way, your feet should be a certain way.
Yeah.
And how many other protocols about how you cover yourself and dress yourself and what you say and don't say, and what it is like to be ladylike. And it's nice to just become aware of this. Yeah, something like laughter, which was designed to just breathe and to ventilate and to actually feel emotion. When you hold that back, you hold a big part of yourself back. You don't allow to feel emotion. You don't allow yourself to feel sensuality. In so many ways, we block ourselves. So it's a much wider discussion. It's a discussion about what it means to be a woman. And it's something that we have to do collectively as well as individually. This kind of dialogue needs to happen. Because as most of you know, the real people who keep women in place are not men, it's actually women. Men may have come up with the rules a long time back, but now it's the women who shame each other more than anybody else. Oh, you meet at the party? Oh, this is the same dress you wore last time, right? That one, and suddenly you feel, oh my goodness, I've got to wear a different dress every single time. I can never repeat my dress. See that one little statement, and we shame each other with these little things. Oh, you haven't done your eyebrows for a while? I mean, come on, So it's the women who probably do it more than even the men do it, right? I had a girlfriend once who had a issue where she would have a lot of body hair, and I didn't mind. It was not a problem to me, but she really minded it, and it was really concerned to, oh, my hair, the hair show. I mean, it was not a problem for me. But this is the idea of what a woman should be. The woman should not have hair on her arms and her legs, right? So yes, these roles, and I remember reading a book by David White. He talked about the 3 marriages. 3 marriages are the marriage to self, the marriage to your significant other, and the marriage to your work in this lifetime. And he said, your whole life, you will have to find a way to negotiate these 3 marriages. How much time do you give yourself? Attention do you give yourself? How much attention do you give a significant other, the loved one in your life? And how much attention do you give your life purpose, your work? And there will be times when the work takes a lot more of your time and energy. There'll be times when your significant other takes more. There'll be time when you require more time for yourself. And perhaps in women's case, it's not just the 3 marriages, it's like the 7 or 8 marriages, because then you're the mom as well, and you're the sister-in-law, the daughter-in-law as well, and you're the neighbor as well, and you're the caretaker of the house as well. So you see how many roles we've taken on. And I think it requires, one of my friends, she's a purpose guide, and she helps people discover their purpose. And for this, it's a real process of self-inquiry, investigation, reflecting on how you want to be 10 years from now, how you want to be before you die. Just before you die, you interview yourself. And then these women have to go on a vision quest. And the vision quest means leaving your family behind, leaving your comforts behind. It actually comes from the Native American tradition, where you actually go into the wilderness, you go into the forest, and you stay in the forest for a week or longer. You're fasting, you're eating very little, and you're by yourself. And this is a process that is both at one level very refreshing to be by yourself, and also very, very scary. Because what's more scary than suddenly all your normal sense of who you are is taken away from you, and you're just in a pool of yourself. So it's incredibly uncomfortable. And you have to, there's no distraction, there's no cell phone, there's no magazine, there's no nothing, right? And there's not even a mirror, and there's just you with yourself. You being in a pool of yourself. And for many people, this is a very powerful experience. It puts them in touch with their core. So we can't really blame society. We can't really blame culture. We can't really blame, oh, this is the way it is. Our responsibility is to get in touch with our own essence. And nobody else can do that for us. In my case, I had to leave my corporate job and go and become a monk. And the process is still on. I wouldn't say it's ever over. But to the extent I was able to, at least for a little while, unclutch from ideas of what people think about me and who they think I should be, what they think I should be, to getting in touch with my own essence. To that extent, I've been able to craft my life. Like Nithya Shanti is my made-up name, right? It's my legal name now. It's a kind of a confusing name because it doesn't tell you much about my religion. It doesn't tell you much about which part of the country I'm from. So when people hear the name Nithya Shanti, they're kind of confused. What do you do with this name? Because our name has so much information embedded in it. So by choosing my own name, I've kind of created my own identity, right? I've chosen a profession that is very hard to classify me. Am I a spiritual teacher? Am I a facilitator? What am I exactly? It's hard to classify that. But I've chosen to be in that ambiguity. I've chosen to live outside these boundaries of what society expects me to be. And as a result, I get away with a lot more. There's a wonderful thing. When I was doing my MBA, I learned this fascinating concept called idiosyncratic credits. Idiosyncratic credits means that when you get into a group, you should purposely violate some group norms. It's going to make you unpopular in the beginning. You're going to be judged in the beginning. But after a while, people will expect you to be different. And you'll get away with so much more. The best example I can think of is Donald Trump. In his very first speech, he called Mexicans rapists, and he said, I'm going to build a wall. And that very first speech, everyone said, that's it. It's the end of him. That's the end of him. He's never going to come back. But do you see how much he got away with? The rest of his presidency, he got away with more than any president ever got away with. Idiosyncratic credit, something to learn from that. In other words, you should not be such a nice girl. You should not be such a nice boy. You should be willing to violate group norms once in a while, because then people expect you to be like that. Mm-hmm. If you always toe the line, the slightest deviation you make, everyone's going to come down heavily on you. So what I've learned is it's okay to not please everybody. So the way I say it is that I'm not here to please others. I'm here to live my truth. And that'll please some and that'll displease some. And maybe that is a deeper answer to your question. As you investigate your roles, instead of talking about all these roles and all these expectations, it's easy to say no. Stephen Covey says it's easy to say no when there's a deeper yes burning inside. That's your job. You got to get in touch with your deepest yes. When you're in touch with your yes, you'll be able to say no to all these people, and not in a rude way, in a graceful way, because you're in touch with your yes. It's like, thank you so much, but I don't think I can do that right now. Let's find another way to do it. And like that.
Right. Right, absolutely. And maybe by practicing this, we get a step closer to mysticism, because we'll find probably our inner hidden love for something, the desire for something, as you say, the voice that comes from within. So probably putting the two practices together, we might just achieve even a higher purpose. Talking about your teachings, Nithya Shanti ji, I would like to direct my next question towards another very interesting video of yours that I saw very recently, in fact, where you're talking about the highest form of meditation. We all are it's a modern age dictum. I think it's existed from the ancient most times, but everyone needs a dose of meditation in the current scenario, even more than before. So it's a dictum that exists in every household and every being. What I found interesting in your video was that you say the highest form of meditation is when you stop feeling anything at all. There is a sense of detachment from good, the bad, the happy, the sad, which is honestly juxtaposed to the fact that the world needs more empathy today than ever, actually more than ever. How do we balance that out, especially for the generation we're bringing up? Say, for example, I personally, every day I'm telling my children, be more conscientious humans, be more sensitive beings, think about others before you, the world needs bigger hearts. How do I tell them to strike that balance? At the end of it, nothing better than reaching the highest form of meditation. But then where is that balance? How do we practice it? How do we teach that balance?
Beautiful. My teacher was accused of giving contradictory teachings. And they said, you're constantly contradicting yourself. And he explained himself. He said, the way it is, I walk down a certain path, and then I see you people coming along the same path. And I see some of you going too much to the left. So I tell you, go right, go right. And I see some of you going too much to the right. So I think, go left, go left. Now, for you, it appears contradictory. Like to one, I'm saying, hey, you should get away, practice more, get away from all the other, talk less, practice more. And to somebody else, I think, hey, enough of meditation, go and do a project. Because from his perspective, he's creating a balance. So any time we give a teaching, it's always in a context. So I'm not sure which video you're referring to, but the main thing we have to realize that there are two major skills we're developing. One is the skill of stepping back. Stepping back is witness consciousness. So right now, for example, if you're on gallery view, to step back would be to suddenly, instead of just focusing on my video, you'd focus on everyone's faces. That would be stepping back. And then stepping back further to include the room that you're in. And to stepping back further to include whatever you're experiencing right now. It's coming to witness consciousness. So this is the first skill, step back or step out. And the second skill is to step in. Step in is to fully feel what we are feeling. Fully feeling our feelings is actually very healing. The problem is not our feelings. The problem is the ideation we create around our feelings. Oh, so first of all, we feel something contracted, then we say, oh, I'm feeling jealous. I shouldn't feel jealous. It's wrong to be jealous. And you make all these stories around what is just a simple sensation that just wanted to move through you. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, emotion is energy in motion, right? So when there's an unpleasant emotion, it actually wants to move through you. When you step back, you start realizing you're not really a person, you're a presence. The whole point of meditation is to shift from being a personality to being a presence. You talked about in the last question about roles. And it is so tiresome. Even if you only have one role, if that one role is tiresome, you may be the world's greatest mom, you may be the best wife, you may be the best entrepreneur, whatever it is. But even that is burdensome beyond a point. Anything beyond a point is burdensome. There's a friend of mine, she told me that in her college, eating Maggie was not allowed because yeah, against the rules. Because what these kids would do is they would take these immersion rods meant for making hot water, and they'd boil water with that and they'd have Maggie. So the dean found out that this is going on. He said, okay, you guys want Maggie? All right. So for 1 week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner was only Maggie. And she said from that time onward, none of them have ever had Maggie again. Right? So in other words, you know, what you resist will persist. And when you welcome something, it's not a problem anymore. So to respond to your question, stepping back, stepping in. This is called pendulating. Step out, step in. Step out, step in. So part of meditation is stepping out. And that is similar to what you're saying, not feeling. It is coming back to witnessing. Step out, but then also step in. So self-realization, self-actualization, enlightenment, empowerment. And this pendulating, another way we could say it is, since we talked about Shakti a while back, Shiva represents consciousness and Shakti represents the manifestation, right? Everything in manifestation is Shakti, and that which knows it is Shiva. So Shiva just is, and the active dimension of Shiva is the Shakti. Now, what ends up happening to us is, in the beginning, we are hypnotized by the manifestation. So we want nicer things, see nice things, smell nice things, hear nice things, wear nice things, have nice things. Who doesn't want nice things? But beyond a point, it doesn't satisfy us. So then we start getting attracted to spirituality. Oh, it's all about surrender. It's all about awareness. It's all about consciousness. It's all about detachment. And we start getting attracted to that. But even that doesn't fully fulfill us. Beyond a point, even that becomes, we get sucked up in all kinds of ideas. So the answer to this is, in India, we have, you see the picture of half Shiva and half Shakti, like they're dancing, Ardhanareshwara, right? So that is actually the resolution is that. The resolution is, in your journey, you will have to learn how to step out and you will learn how to step in. To step out means develop your capacity to be aware, sky-like awareness. Everything comes and everything goes in the sky-like awareness. But also to be able to step in. And to be able to step in means feel like your friend of yours is crying. You don't say, oh yeah, it's just your karma, it's just emotion, it's all right. That's not the right. When someone is crying, you hold their hand with them. Maybe even you'll cry with them, and it's all right. Beautiful story from one of my teachers, Maizumi Roshi. He had a Zen retreat, and on the second day of the retreat, he noticed one of the students, she had a limp in her leg. So every day there's an interview with the student. So he called her over. Turns out this woman was a professional ballet dancer. And she'd had an accident on the subway station where her leg got crushed under the train. And she could never be a professional ballet dancer again. So whenever she would sit, she'd cover with a scarf her leg, which was deformed. So when she comes to the interview, she starts talking about her meditation. And he says, never mind that. Tell me about your foot. Tell me about my foot. And she starts talking about, she didn't know her teacher wants to know about the foot. So she starts talking about the accident that happened and how it affected her. And she's crying. She's embarrassed about crying. She looks up. Maizumi Roshi is also crying. They cry together. Next day again, she comes, starts talking about her meditation. He says, never mind that. Tell me about your foot. Because there's such a lot of pain in that, not just what happened, but the implications of what happened. Her whole identity of being a dancer got lost. So like this, for the next 6 days, they sit and they cry together. On the last day, she comes and she matter-of-factly starts talking about her foot. And Maizumi Roshi says, never mind that. Tell me about your meditation. And how beautiful it is. When it was required to cry with her, he cried with her. But the moment she accepted her situation, now he said, never mind that. It's just a story. Now let's talk about your meditation. You see, so we have to learn both the arts, the art of stepping out and the art of stepping in. This pendulation is how Shiva and Shakti interact. And this is how it leads to Ardhanareshwara, the combination of the two, to recognize it as one essence. It is simultaneously still and moving, like a mirror. On one hand, the mirror throughout its life will reflect many, 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 many things. And on the other hand, nothing will stick to it. How fascinating.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so yeah, back to you, Nithya.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful insight. Nithya Shanti ji, you also know we are launching a very important vertical today. You have already complimented us on Atmanirbhar that was shown a bit while earlier today, the entire launch of the video. It is a wing dedicated to knowledge, a free flow of knowledge throughout for our flow women, wherein we believe knowledge is power. It is one tool that actually fulfills the definition of empowerment. Now, you have been exposed to the best of education and knowledge before you stepped into the spiritual realms. My question is, how do you draw a correlation between spiritual knowledge and knowledge as we know it, the day-to-day knowledge, the material knowledge? Are they correlated? I'm definitely not wanting to pitch one against the other. I'm genuinely wanting to know their correlation. Can one lead to enhancing the other?
Beautiful. What a great question. I like the homework you've done. Got some very nice questions. So, so this is a great question. In fact, this is a question that came up in my monastery because we noticed that. I first of all, I went to a very interesting monastery. It's called Vatpananachat. Should I show a few pictures? Do we have time? Should I show one of the pictures from my monastery?
Absolutely, we would love that.
That might be interesting for some of the people. Let's see.
Editing can be, yeah, perfect.
So that's me at 23. Can you recognize the handsome monk? And I left my corporate job, which I didn't last too long in, and I ordained as a Buddhist monk. I went to a monastery in Northeast Thailand, which is called Wat Pananachat, the forest meditation monastery. We wake up early in the morning, about 3 o'clock, and we have morning chanting. Then we meditate till about dawn. Then we take our robes, and the sun rises. We walk to the neighboring villages. And in Thailand, they believe happiness comes from giving. So they like to start their day by giving. Just like in India, we will pray or we will offer something to the tulsi plant. For them, they want to start their day by giving something to the monks. So we don't even have to ring doorbells. In fact, it's not allowed for monks to ask. You just walk silently. If somebody wants to give, they give. In fact, when I was in India, I practiced, because we practice Pindapat. My teacher said you cannot eat unless you do your Pindapat. Unless you're sick, that's a different matter. So in India also, I would walk. And I was not allowed to ring doorbell. So I just go and stand outside the house. And most people will just shoo me away. They think I've come for money. But monks aren't allowed to use money, actually. I never touched money for 6 years. And so I thought it'll be the first time. In India, I thought that'll be the first time in 6 years I wouldn't get any food. But even that day, someone stopped their car, came out and put a loaf of bread into my bowl. So in 6 years, I never went a single day where I didn't get food. And this develops a kind of trust. You see, monks are not allowed to store food. Monks are not allowed to grow food. Monks are not allowed to cook food. And why the Buddha made it like that? He's made them dependent on the householders. He wanted there to be a symbiotic relationship. So monks cannot be hermits because they're not allowed to store food. They have to live at least 1 or 2 hours close to a village. You should be able to walk to the village and get your food every day. And that keeps the monks connected to society, not completely detached from society. So society can learn from the monks, and monks can also be kept in check by society. So I lived like this. This is my monastery in Thailand, Wat Nanachat. So if you notice, we have monks from all over the world. And some of these were very highly educated. They were lawyers, they were consultants, they were whatever. In fact, we had one young man, now he's a little older. He was the son of the richest man in Malaysia. You might have, if any of you have been to Malaysia, you've seen the Petronas Towers, the 2 famous towers in Kuala Lumpur. His father owned those towers. And so he had his only son could have been a billionaire, decided to come and be a monk in this monastery. So we had a very high caliber of monks in this monastery. And we noticed something. We noticed that the villagers who come, and they're busy villagers, I mean, they're farmers or they're craftsmen, whatever, they would come and very quickly, in a matter of days or weeks, they would enter deep samadhi states. And here we are struggling year after year, year after year. We are not able to achieve those samadhi states, those deep meditative absorptions. So we asked our teacher, how is this possible? These villagers come in just a few days. One of them, we could see him meditating. He'd meditate for 3-4 hours at once. There was one villager who'd come in the evening and he'd sit all the way till the next morning. He wouldn't even get up. Like, whoa, that's really incredible. And our teacher had a very nice explanation for this. He said, these villagers have small houses, so it's easy to clean. You people have large houses. It's going to take a long time to clean. But the villagers will be able to accommodate a few people in their homes. See, when he's saying homes, he's not talking about physical homes. He's talking about this home, right? So when you have a simple intellect, you can understand these teachings rather quickly, but your ability to share them is also limited by that. When you have a larger home, like this is also, we train to live outdoors. In the forest tradition, we practice living in umbrella tents like this. This is called glot. The handle comes out, and you can practice under it. So yeah, so my teacher said that you guys have bigger homes, so it'll take you a little longer to clean. But when you clean it, you'll be able to accommodate many, many, many more people. And so that's how it goes with worldly knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Worldly knowledge has no end. Divya, the more you learn, the more there is to learn. You should look into this documentary on Netflix. I think it's called, what is it called? The Strangest, the Greatest. I'll pull out the name for you, but the documentary, The Greatest Unknown or something like that. And it's about 9 scientists at the cutting edge of their fields who meet each other. It's a documentary on Netflix. And what's amazing about this documentary, each of them is at the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of their field. And when they talk to each other, the only thing that they all say in common is, there is so much more to learn. We're just beginning to learn. We're just beginning to realize how little we know. So in other words, the more you learn, the more there is to learn. That is a hallmark of any person who's on the path of knowledge. The more you learn, the more you find there is to learn, which is why a true scholar will have humility. A true scholar will not say that is the only way. There are many, many, many ways to look at things. There's not just one way to look at things. So knowledge is a point of view. Wisdom is a viewing point. So the main difference between normal worldly knowledge and spiritual perspective is that instead of looking outward into the Shakti, into the endless points of knowledge, points of view, you come back to the viewing point. Who is aware? Who is speaking right now? Who is listening right now? And the Buddha says this is the only direction which has a conclusive ending. Every other direction takes you on a wild ride that never ends. The only thing in this world that gets you home to a point that does end is this backward journey into who am I? What is this? What is this about? What is awareness? So both are important, but the main thing is in the ancient temple Delphi, in the oracles temple in Greek, they had I forget the Greek word for it, but it said on top, know thyself. And so the main teaching of all traditions, number one, is know thyself. Not know about the world. Know about the world is fine, but know thyself. That's the first biggest quality of our dharma. And so the more you can know yourself, the more you can express through all the things you know in the world. So because I've read many books and I've interacted with many people, I'm able to maybe convey the same thing in a way that might be more palatable. There may be many more wiser people than me who may not be able to do that, but their wisdom is still very strong and their wisdom is very deep, right? So both have their place and we should develop both in our lifetime.
Beautiful. But at the end, I think it should all converge to that one point and lead it to our inner self, I guess. Beautiful.
Yeah, someone's given the name of the documentary. It's called The Most Unknown. It's a great documentary. You should check it out.
The Most Unknown. We also had someone who missed out on the name of the monastery, Nithya Shanti ji, the one where you were. Can you please?
Okay. I'll put it in the chat. It's a difficult one to. When I first went there, I don't know if you know this, but Thai is a tonal language. So which means when I went to the neighboring town and I want to take a tuk-tuk back to my monastery, I said, Vatpa Nana Chat. He said, what? I said, Vatpa Nana Chat? He didn't get it. So I said, oh, Vatpa Nana Chat. Oh, okay. Got it. So it's a tonal language. So you got to say it in the right tone. Otherwise, they don't understand what you're saying, right?
So thank you for speaking it out instead of just typing it out. That wouldn't have helped us if any one of us were planning to go there. So guys, please take note of the syllables and the intonations. The spelling doesn't matter. This is what we're trying to say. Wonderful. Nithya Shanti ji, before I hand it over to my colleague, the session would be counted incomplete if I don't request this to you. It is not a question. This is more like a request by the end of the session. And now I'm going to quote you. You say that our thoughts are very powerful and come reverberating as echoes in mountains. And from that very concept comes a beautiful practice called Mayurma. And this has not left me ever since I first heard you at Hyderabad. There's another beautiful takeaway that I had from there, which is called the glorious lotus of gratitude. This session would be incomplete. I'll have to put in the third request, which wasn't on my list, but it hasn't come, and I've hyped up my members. You have to describe how wonderful to us. So these three,
Let's do it.
These three quick learnings and takeaways. I will not be able to hand the session over till we do not learn these three techniques from you. Thank you.
Let's learn the three. Let's start with how wonderful. So how wonderful is a simple phrase. And the deeper idea of how wonderful is yatha drishti tatha shrishti. In other words, you're not seeing things the way they are. You're seeing things the way you are. You are always connected to your world, right? So you might notice that even twins, one twin can be more pessimistic, see something wrong in everything. And one can be more optimistic, see something good in everything. So yatha drishti tatha shrishti. So my teacher told me that be conscious of how you perceive things, because you're not seeing things the way they are. You're seeing your version of them. Stress is not caused by the events of your life. Stress is caused by your thoughts about the events of your life. 4 kinds of thoughts: disastrous thoughts, negative thoughts, positive thoughts, and miraculous thoughts. So one of the easy ways to practice miraculous thinking is, no matter what, and remember the word we learned now today, miraki,
Miraculous.
Miraculous.
Yes.
Yeah, miraki. Miraki is pouring your heart and soul into whatever you're doing. So miraki, the way to have miraki is, no matter what happens, you keep saying how wonderful, how wonderful. There's a concept in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. What the thing thinks, the prover proves. Whatever you think again and again, you find evidence for that. So if I keep saying how wonderful, how wonderful, how wonderful, life actually starts to become wonderful. If you wake up in the morning and say, this is the happiest day of my life. This is the happiest day of my life. You know what? You're going to start having really happy days because you choose to make it the happiest day of my life, of your life. One of my friends said, he stopped saying, have a good day. He says, make it a good day, make it a great day. You see the difference between have a good day? Have a good day is passively, hopefully good things happen to you today, which is like totally based on events. But make it a great day, make it an amazing day. That puts the remote control of your happiness back in your hands. So how wonderful is a mantra you can start using right away. No matter what happens, keep saying how wonderful, how wonderful, how wonderful. In the beginning, you'll feel you're fooling yourself. What is this? There's nothing wonderful about this. But you'll realize you're always fooling yourself. No matter what you're thinking, you're fooling yourself. So keep saying how wonderful, how wonderful, how wonderful. Life becomes wonderful. And I learned this mantra from 2 people, Benjamin Zander and Sudhakar Ram. Sudhakar Ram used to run Mastech, big IT company. And he told me, Nithya, how wonderful has changed my life. I keep saying how wonderful. And I said, that's a great way of practicing yatha drishti, tatha shrishti. Keep saying how wonderful. Last year, Sudhakar was diagnosed with cancer. And his entire, in fact, before that, I want to say before that, 2 years, 3 years back, I'd met him, we were having breakfast. And Sudhakar said to me, Nithya, I could die the next minute. It would be fine because all my affairs are in order. My company will run without me. My family knows where everything is. All the documents are, all the will is. All my affairs are in order. I have forgiven everyone I have to forgive. I'm living a clean life. I'm willing to die at any moment. And he wasn't lying because last year he had cancer. He was called the most cheerful patient in all the doctors he just submitted himself to whatever treatments he had to go through. And it so happened, he was in his 60s, he passed away. He passed away. But he passed away cheerfully. Though, imagine going through the entire process and family and doctor are all surprised. We've never seen a positive patient like you before. He did the best he could. He didn't survive, but his memory survived. And he's loved by, in fact, people from that company, I don't know if any of you know someone from Aztec, but they think of it less as the company and more of the community. And it's been life-changing for them. So that's the first mantra, how wonderful. And the second thing is lotus of gratitude. So just try this, everyone, put your 10 fingertips together. Become like 2 lotus buds. And lotus buds don't look so extraordinary. They just look like pretty ordinary. But when the sunlight falls on them, something amazing happens. They start to open. So now over the next minute, you will think of 10 things you're thankful for. Each time 1 lotus petal will open. And slowly take your time. You'll think of 10. And all 10 open. Bring both these beautiful lotuses to your heart. So let's put your 10 fingertips together. Close your eyes. Think of 10 things you're grateful for. Opening 1 petal each time. Go slow, feel it. Take your time. Whenever you're done, bring both the lotuses to your heart and just be here for a bit. Feel grateful. Fill your heart with gratitude. And in this moment, I want you to feel the luckiest person in the world. You're the favorite child of the universe. We'll all take a slow deep breath. Your hands can come down. You can slowly open your eyes. Beautiful. Let's say together, how wonderful.
How wonderful.
It's a great way to start your day when you wake up in the morning, before you even get out of bed. Because you see, even most of us, if you're honest, even it happens to me as well. When you wake up, your mind starts racing. Oh, these emails have to be replied to. This person has to be done. This duty has to be done. That response. Oh, that phone call. Oh, that bill hasn't been paid. You think of the 10 things that are unfinished. But you forgot, you woke up and there was someone in the world exactly your age, and even more so now in COVID times. There was someone in this world your age who did not wake up today. Just right now, before this call began, I got a message. Someone 38-year-old just passed away. So this is happening all around us. All right. So the fact that you woke up, start by giving thanks. Start by giving thanks. It is a miracle that you have woken up, and be grateful. Develop this capacity of practicing gratitude. This is called the lotus of gratitude. The second thing we've learned with lotus of gratitude, being thankful. Develop your gratitude muscle. There's a connection between gratitude and resilience. See, today's session is also organized because such a lot is going on in our lives. All kinds of upheavals. Radhika said, Nithya, so much is going on. We need to do this.
Okay.
So how do you deal with what's going on? Develop your gratitude quotient. There's a story of a teacher who calls a student and says, get me a glass of water. Student gets a glass of water. He says, now put a spoonful of salt in it and mix it up, mix it up, mix it up. So student is saying, what's going on? And the teacher says, drink it. Drink it? So he tries to drink it and he makes a face. I can't drink this. This is way too salty. So teacher says, get me a bucket of water. Gets a bucket of water. Put the same amount of salt, 1 spoon of salt. Mix it up, mix it up, mix it up. Now taste it. Student says, yeah, not much salty taste now. Let's go outside. There's a big lake. And they get inside the lake and put a spoonful of salt. Mix it, mix it, mix it, mix it. Now taste it. And the student says, my goodness, it's completely fresh. I don't taste a bit of salt. So teachers say there's a deeper lesson here. In your life, there will always be salt and there will always be water. You cannot prevent, none of us here, no matter how rich and powerful you are, can prevent salt from coming into your life. Salt is the unwanted thing that will happen. Salt is also the wanted thing that will not happen. And salt is also things like disease and death and the separation from loved ones. This is all the salt of our life. No one is exempt from the salt. No matter how good you are, you will be criticized. The Buddha himself was criticized. People try to even assassinate him. What to speak of all of us? We're all going to face sooner or later, right? But what we can't control the salt, but what we can control and modulate is the amount of water. And most people just have a glass of water. So I've asked this question many times, what are you grateful for? And most people say family, job, home, kids, health, then they struggle. They can't think of much more. Most people struggle to get to 10 things, which is why I made you do 10 things today. People struggle to get to 10 things. But pick up any newspaper, you'll find a minimum of 100 things that are wrong with the world. If a journalist can come up with 100 things wrong with the world every day, why can't you and I come up with more things to be grateful for? Is the world really that bad? There's one magazine that no one throws away. It's called National Geographic magazine. You throw away all the other magazines, the India Today and all gets thrown, but no one throws away National Geographic. Why? Because the mission statement of National Geographic is celebrating what's right with the world. So like this, what you're doing is just celebrating what's right with the world. This will develop resilience. And when your water is lake-like, the same challenges will not affect you the way they used to. You want to shift from glass of water to bucket of water to lake of water. So you want to take one teaching from today, develop your gratitude. Even if it feels like you're being fake, inwardly say how wonderful. Say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you will find it starts becoming a part of your operating system, become the way of life for you. Let's end, Mayurma will end with. So now let's take some questions. We'll end the whole course with Mayurma.
then I'm going to give the session over further to Shilpa. Shilpa will practice the Mayurma at the end. So please take up any questions that we have for Nithya Shanti ji. Thank you so much for being in conversation with me, Nithya Shanti ji. And I am so sure that there is so much more to come on the 14th. This is just the beginning. Let's have a few questions from our members today. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Divya. That was really some insight. Thank you, Nithya Shanti ji. We're ready to take on questions. We have a question in the chat box, lots of questions in the chat box actually. But to start with, I'd like to call Mrs. Monica Chaudhary. She'd like to ask a question, please. She's a past president of Ludhiana chapter. Monica?
Hi, Nithya ji. We met in Vizag, and I have some very beautiful memories of how wonderful and the gratitude together. Welcome to Ludhiana first. I also would like to say part of a very large COVID drive that we are doing here in Ludhiana. So we are working on, in Punjab, we are working on the COVID patients. We are looking at the medical aspect of with Radhika. She started a drive called Eat, Heal, Pray. You are our segment of the pray. So we really appreciate if you can put in some kind of a little prayer from your end in that most how wonderful thing. It just might work for everybody. We really appreciate that.
Definitely.
And I would let the questions go to a lot of other people because I am definitely joining you. I was the one who sent you a message. So we are really on for a session with you, with myself and my husband, and I'm sure we'll take it from there. But I wanted to thank you for
lovely,
here, especially to be a part of
good to be here.
Heal Pray Drive as well. With Vidya and Nandita and Radhika, we are all trying to do the best we can in the circumstances given in terms of trying to facilitate for oxygen to beds to everything which is a problem right now. And we seem to be losing a lot of people, and it's a lot of heartache with a lot of us. A whole lot of us have lost our family members. And yes, we're just hoping for the best. So I thought we'd love for you to put a little prayer for everybody here.
No, definitely. Yeah. Each one of us can just take some time every day to just focus for the fact that you're breathing. There are so many people in our country struggling to breathe right now. So there's an advanced practice from Tibetan Buddhism which says you share whatever pleasant experience you have, you double click and you say, may all beings experience this. And whatever unpleasant experiences you have, you double click and say, may all beings be free from this. So the fact that you can breathe, you say, may everyone struggling to breathe in this country, may they have the same comfort of breathing as I'm having. And the flip side is when you're having some pain, like maybe I'm having leg pain, then I would say, all right, since I have leg pain anyway, may everybody else in the world with leg pain be free from leg pain. May I be the only one with leg pain. What that does is the pain doesn't go away, but the suffering goes away. And the suffering is resistance to what is. Because the moment you give meaning to experience, there's no suffering anymore. Like if I took a needle and went around poking you, you get very angry with me. Nithya, what are you doing? Why are you poking me like that? But if I suddenly dress up as a doctor or a nurse and I say, blood test. Oh, please take blood test, blood donation drive. And the same poke, it's still painful, but now you're very happy to give it. You even take an Instagram photograph. Look, I give it. So it's not the experience, it's the meaning you give to the experience. Sweating is very unpleasant. Your Uber driver is late. He was supposed to come 5 minutes back. You're standing out there. All your makeup is dripping down. You're so angry with the Uber driver. What's wrong with you? But then that evening, you go to the sauna and you're loving it. In fact, you're saying, "Aur garam karo, pasina nahi aa raha hai, aur garam karo, make it hotter." So a few hours back, you were so angry for the Uber driver because it made you sweat. Now you're upset with the guy who's not sweating enough. You see, it's not the experience. It's your thoughts about the experience. So the more clearly you get this, you stop becoming a victim to life and you become a master storyteller. Use this experience to develop two qualities: awareness and telling high quality stories. And that's what it's all about.
How wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.
That was lovely. We have a question from the chat box asked by Ankita Gupta that, Nithya ji, how can we apply mindfulness in our day-to-day life? And another small portion of that asked by Aman Sandhu, that especially in a negative situation where we rarely have control over our activity or our mind, how do we get to the realm that we don't just let it overpower us, a negative situation, and apply mindfulness at that time?
Yeah. I'm reading a fantastic book, which I recommend to all of you. It's called Tiny Habits. And put it in the chat. Tiny Habits. BJ Fogg. And this would be one of the best books on habit change, habit formation, currently available. This book, and there's another book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. But I would recommend this one first. And so instead of saying I'll meditate half an hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes, I would invite you to meditate for maybe a minute. Meditate for 1 minute. Meditate for a minute, but do it many times a day, right? So I got this from a book called One Moment Meditation. And the author said, he said there are different kinds of meditation. First meditation is called basic minute. For 1 minute, you're more present. How to be present? The easy way is just to be aware of your breath. Your breath is always in the present moment. Or anything else, you could be aware of sounds. You could be aware of what you're feeling. Breath is an easy one, right? So be aware of the breath for a minute. That's called the basic minute. You have to do it once a day. Then when nothing else is happening, which maybe you're quite busy, but maybe there are little occasions. You see how many times you go onto Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp. I mean, really, do you have to go like 20 times a day? Maybe not. Maybe you can go 15 times a day. So when nothing else is happening, come back to your breath. And that's called a bonus minute. So maybe you can find 2 or 3 more such minutes in the day. It's called bonus minute. Yeah. And now once in a while, some sad news comes. Like we have just heard, oh, someone's really sick. They're not getting a hospital bed, or someone just passed away. Or some other news that frightens you. There may be a lockdown. So instead of getting into fight and flight response, you again take a minute. It's called the emergency minute. So you've learned basic minutes, you've learned bonus minutes, you've learned emergency minutes. And now once in a while, even with eyes open, don't even have to close your eyes. You can be sitting with other friends, but you bring your attention back to your breath for about a minute. And that's called a portable minute. Because nobody knows you're meditating. Your eyes are open, you're behaving like a normal person, but your attention is back in your breath, back to whatever meditation object you've chosen. And like this, I would encourage you to find little gaps throughout the day, And little by little, these gaps will start linking together. And so like Thich Nhat Hanh, the famous Vietnamese monk, says, there are 2 ways to wash the dishes. You wash the dishes to finish the dishes. You wash the dishes to wash the dishes. Mm-hmm. This is a beautiful paradigm. See, I can give this talk hoping you like the talk. That's one way to give the talk. Or I could give the talk to give the talk. And there's a difference. Because when I'm giving the talk to, I hope you like the talk, then my mind is too active. Or everyone's smiling, did they like my joke? Mm-hmm. Have I covered the point nicely? And I'm not fully there, you see. It's not Miraki. Miraki is to fully pour yourself so deeply into something. It doesn't matter what people think anymore. So like this, take little gaps throughout the day. Between stimulus and response is a gap. That's where wisdom lives. Our job is to widen and deepen that gap. Otherwise, you're living a reactive life. So conscious living, we talked about, the first question was about spirituality. The spirituality is all about the gap between the events of your life and your reactions in that. So the gap opens up, it becomes a response instead of a action. You've all heard the word responsibility. And if you look at it carefully, it means ability to respond. Responsibility, right? You cannot always control the events of your life, but you can choose higher and higher quality responses. How do you do that? By accessing the gap. I'm not an expert in your life. You're the expert in your life. How do you access your own expertise? Accessing the gap. Otherwise, you're lost in your heads, you're lost in your emotions, and you lose your way. So the gap is the main point. So tiny habits, small moments like throughout the day, like we learned the simple practice of lotus of gratitude. When you practice the basic minutes, bonus minutes, small, and this is not, I'm not trying to dilute spirituality here. Let me tell you, this is advanced spirituality. My teacher took away every sitting Buddha in our monastery. We said, why did you do that? He said, because you monks think that meditation is closing your eyes and sitting. That's not true. Meditation is everything you do. Every sitting Buddha was removed from our monastery. They were only standing and walking Buddhas left. So our teacher said, break the concept that you have to sit down and close your eyes to be aware. It's not true. So everything you're doing can be your meditation. If you go on YouTube, and maybe I can send you the link, I've I've shared a meditation called Mahasati. And Mahasati is a meditation done with open eyes. It's a meditation based on body movements. And that's especially appropriate meditation for busy people like all of you. Because what you find with Mahasati is throughout the day, you're moving, you're shaking hands, you're opening doors, you're cutting vegetables, you're serving the food, you're eating the food. This can become meditation because movement can become meditation. It's a dynamic kind of meditation. So what I'll do is I'll share the link of that with Radhika and Divya, and they can share it with you further on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shilpa. Yeah.
Another question that's come up here is that Neha is asking that how do we get in touch with you otherwise and enroll for one of your sessions or meditation sessions, or also that you have something like you mentioned, you have these joy shops. So how does one become a integral part of that or just gain something from it?
You can always join my my Instagram, and there's one link that has most of the things. My website is under development now because as you know, COVID, my web designer got very unwell these days. So I'm going to give you the link which has most of the events over here, and you can copy this link. So you get most of the events and the different things that are happening on that linktree/Nithya Shanti. Check that out. Otherwise, check my Instagram. If you're on Telegram, I have a group where a lot of updates are shared. I'll put that as well. These are different ways to be in touch. Otherwise, normally my website is nithyashanti.com. It'll be up in a month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, those are some ways to be in touch.
Okay. The second last question that we'll take up today is Bela Badhalia is asking. She says, do you agree or not to the statement that too much of mindfulness leads to selfishness?
There's no such thing as too much of mindfulness. I'm sorry. There's no such thing. It's like saying wisdom or too much love. I don't agree with that. In fact, it's the opposite. It leads to a disillusion of your concept of self. The Buddha said, mindfulness helps with all things. So whether you're a homemaker, whether you're a business person, whether you are part of Ficci Flow, whether you're anything, whether you're a sports person, whether you play golf, mindfulness helps with everything. Concentration helps with everything. Andrew Carnegie, who was the steel magnate in the US, was at that time the richest man in the world. And the government was suspicious because he didn't come from such a rich background. How come he's become the richest man in the world, actually? So they did an investigation. They were trying to find some malpractice. And they couldn't find any major malpractice. So they went up to him and they said, we've been investigating you for the last 3 years. We're very surprised how you've become so rich so quickly. What's your secret? So he pulled out a pen. He pulled out a pen from his jacket pocket and he says, can you all look at this pen? So they all looked at all the people there in the room. They looked at the pen. And after a while, they got bored and their mind began, what are you trying to do? You know? He said, most of you in 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, your mind began wandering. You began looking away. The difference between you and me is I can look at this pen for 2 minutes. My mind will not wander. That's the secret to my success. 2 minutes, that's not even that long a time. But if you can keep your mind on one topic, unshaking for 2 minutes, it's called hyperfocus. When, my hands are about the size, like 3-4 feet, a concave mirror reflecting sunlight on solid rock, what do you think will happen if you reflect sunlight on solid rock? Some people say nothing will happen. Some people say it'll get burned. Some people say it'll break. The answer is it'll melt like wax. It'll melt like wax. Solid rock, solid granite will melt like wax. That rock has had sunlight falling on it for millions of years. Nothing happened. But in less than a minute, it melted like wax. You have to develop your capacity for mindfulness and concentration. And what you consider to be impenetrable blockages and barriers and obstacles in your life will begin to melt away in a way that you never believed before. Ancestral baggage is going to start melting away. Of course, cultural baggage will melt away. Even ancestral baggage will melt away. Your deepest idea of who you are will begin to melt away. And that will lead to a beautiful freedom and peace and unshakable foundation for you, which will be the most worthwhile thing you can achieve and experience in this lifetime.
Great.
How wonderful. Sorry. Not just wonderful. How wonderful.
Wonderful, yes. We'll take up the last question. You mentioned about taking time out, 1 minute, small breaths, small meditations. Mansi wants to know if we already meditate, but we can't extend it beyond a certain point of time because of the thoughts that come in. How would you enlighten us on being able to sustain longer or for a longer duration of hours to be meditating more and better?
See, first of all, this is a common misunderstanding that meditation means don't have thoughts. Anybody who meditates knows you have more thoughts than ever, isn't it? It's not that you actually have more thoughts than ever. You're aware of your thinking process. So let's take away this notion. I'm going to give you a different perspective. I've been meditating for now what? I began at the age of 16. So it's been many years I've been meditating. I sometimes calculated, I've meditated more than 25,000 hours in my lifetime, right? Now, after all that meditation, even today, my mind wanders. But there's a difference. I no longer resist it. I no longer take that to be myself. It's what the mind does. Like when you eat something, let's say you ate some peanuts or you ate some puri bhaji, your digestion process will start. Acids will start getting secreted, enzymes are getting secreted to digest what you just ate. In the same way, when sense experiences happen, your brain secretes thoughts. Your stomach secretes acids, your brain secretes thoughts. It's a natural process. So the days you meditate and there are a lot of thoughts, I want you to think a lot of stress is being released. The days you meditate and there are less thoughts, I want you to think less stress needs to be released. The days you meditate and there are no thoughts, you say, oh, not much stress today, it seems. But that's all it is. So a lot of thoughts is actually good. A lot of stress is being released. Less stress is being released. No stress needs to be released today. In all cases, it's a good. So don't think that a meditation with less thoughts is better than a meditation with a lot of thoughts. That's not true at all. Because what you're developing is not really a thoughtless state. What you're developing is metacognition, awareness of what is happening. We said, step out, step in, step out, step in. Step out is witness consciousness. Step in is embodied consciousness. You need both. You need Shiva and you need Shakti. Shiva and Shakti, Shiva and Shakti. And there's a beautiful teaching from Kashmiri Shaivism, which says that this universe has got three elements: Shiva, Shakti, and Nara. What is Shiva, Shakti, Nara? Shiva is nothing, Shakti is everything, and Nara is something. So in order to live a balanced life, we have to accept that at one level, I'm nothing. At one level, I'm everything. And at one level, I'm also something. When those three things come into balance, that's when you have a truly balanced approach to spirituality. Otherwise, you've gone into one extreme or the other. So these are all ancient. These are not new. These are not my teaching. These are teachings that are found in our tradition. We've lost our way, right? So nothing wrong in having a lot of thoughts. It's totally fine. If you want, I have 10:30 each night these days. I'm sharing because of the COVID times. There's a meditation every night at 10:30. I'll again share the link with Radhika. And you guys can join. It's an open session. Anybody can join. So come. If you want to experience deeper meditation, come. Check out my YouTube channel. A lot of guided meditations there. I have a 6-month guided meditation course as well. These are all things you can check out. But start with 1 minute. Start with a tiny habit. Otherwise, what happens is you dive into the deep end and you go straight down. Plonk. And then you say, oh, I can't meditate, right? So start simple, start small, and then take it from there.
Fair enough. Our inbox is being flooded with questions. Ladies, I would just like to inform all of you that we do have another session after 4 days on the 14th, that is Friday. So just in case we're not able to take up all the questions today, we will carry them forward on Friday. Nithya Shanti ji, would you like to answer a couple more?
Yeah, why don't you ask one more? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Monica Chaudhary, yes, she would like to know that, do you ever wonder about your purpose here, or why are you here? And what is your purpose in life? Does that ever intrigue you?
You know, there's a great poem by Mary Oliver. She's thinking about purpose. Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets. And she's thinking about purpose. And she's saying, what is this? How did the universe begin? Why are we here? You know, nothing seems to stop the onslaught of disease and death. And, you know, what is the whole point of all of this? And she's taking a long walk. Mary Oliver was famous for taking long walks. And as she's taking this long walk, she notices these wild roses. Wild roses are dancing in the wind. So she's struck by how beautiful these wild roses are. And she talks to the wild roses. Wild roses, do you have the answer? Can you answer these questions? Why are we here? What is life purpose? And she hears back from the wild roses, and they answer her back saying, excuse us, but right now, we are entirely busy being roses. What a beautiful poem, right? So the point is that all these questions, like for example, you're all playing volleyball, or we're playing football, whatever game you like, we're playing badminton, right? And in the middle of the badminton, you say, stop. I've got a question. What's the question? What's the purpose of life? To get off the badminton court. Don't disturb us. Let us play our badminton. Get off the football court. Stop being a bore. You see, when you're in the middle of it, you stop asking these kind of boring questions. These questions come when you've got too much of spare time. It's an intellectual process. No bird ever asks, what's my purpose? No cloud ever asks, what's my purpose? No mountain ever asks, what's my purpose? You live that purpose. Meraki. Pour all of yourself into everything you do. Pour all your love, all your creativity, all your heart into it. Leave a bit of yourself into everything you do. I once asked myself that if there is such a thing as life purpose, and I like to ask interesting questions. So the question is, if there is such a thing as life purpose and I can achieve it, or I can less than achieve it, or I can more than achieve it, then what would it take for me to achieve my purpose 1,000,000-fold? Powerful question. What would it take to achieve my life purpose 1,000,000-fold? So the answer I could get to that is, whatever I'm doing, to do it with all my attention and all my love. In other words, in answering this question right now, to the best of my ability, it may or may not satisfy you, but to the best of my ability, I have just fulfilled my life purpose. When I'm walking, my purpose is to walk. When I'm shaving, my purpose is to shave. When I'm listening, my purpose is to listen. When I'm listening to music, when I'm having an argument, my purpose is to find some kind of conclusion. Whatever I'm doing, my purpose is that in that very moment. There's no other artificial purpose. So life, living itself in the moment, is fulfilling its purpose. That is the only way I know to reliably fulfill my life purpose, not just one grade, but a millionfold in this lifetime. And that would be my best answer for life purpose.
It supersedes best. It genuinely supersedes best, because what better than being in the moment itself, because rest's all gone. You cannot witness what's about to come and what's gone. Just being in that moment itself is perhaps the purpose of life. Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's fabulous. How wonderful.
Shilpa, we'll roll over the questions further.
Yes,
the remaining.
We'll do that.
Do we have time for Mayurma today, Nithya Shanti ji, or should we take
Let's
it
do
on?
Mayurma. Let's do.
Okay, great.
So
Brilliant.
Mayurma, no, we'll do Mayurma right now. So Mayurma, I'll tell you about Mayurma. Mayurma, I learned, it's a symbol. Some of you may have learned Reiki, and Reiki has Reiki symbols. And why symbols? Because our deeper mind works with archetypes, works with symbols, right? So it's a way of working with your deeper mind. So I was in Australia and I met a healer, and she taught me a method of healing called Sekin, which is another very interesting healing method. But she taught me many healing symbols. And one symbol she taught me, she said, Nithya, please feel free to share this with everybody. It's not a secret symbol. Like in Reiki and all, you said, okay, don't share the symbols. But this is an open symbol, anybody can learn it. So it's called Mayurma, which means unconditional love, infinite love, right? And you don't just think it, you actually draw it with your hands. So I want you to follow me, everyone. Take your hands up. Everyone do it, take your hands up. And slowly bring them down. And draw a big heart in the air. And then put one palm on top of the other at your heart level. And now you're going to make an infinity symbol, which is lying down 8. So make a lying down 8. Second time is bigger. And third time is huge. And you come back to your heart. And we all say together, Mayurma.
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 And Mayurma is a way of sending infinite love, infinite good wishes. You just made a big heart. You poured down pure, undiluted love. You made a big heart out of it. And you multiplied that heart by infinity 3 times. And you sent it out into the world, Mayurma. Mayurma means infinite love. When I teach it, it's fun because at least one person says, Manorma. I said, no, it's not Manorma. It's Mayurma. It's Mayurma. and one friend of mine, she said, I made a new Mayurma. I said, what's that? She said, mini Mayurma. So mini Mayurma, just try this.
Yeah,
take this, everyone, take 2 fingers. Take 2 fingers. Try this, take 2 fingers. Bring them down a bit. You can do it with both hands. Bring them down a bit. Make a cute heart. And multiply by infinity 3 times. Multiply by infinity 3 times. Make it larger and larger. And Mayurma. So she said, when my husband's getting angry, then under the dining table, I make a mini Mayurma. Peace in the house.
Interesting. Nithya Shanti ji, thank you so much. In fact, ladies, I know you'd agree with me. There is no other way to express our fervent gratitude today but to collectively do a huge Mayurma for Nithya Shanti ji. Come on, let's all do it. Let's get everyone on the grid. IT team, can we all have can we all be on the grid together? Can we remove the spotlight?
Yeah, you go to gallery view, everyone. Go to gallery view, you'll see everyone's face.
Okay, super. So now let's do the Mayurma together. And if you want to unmute yourself and shout it out to Nithya Shanti ji, even better.
Why not?
Come on, let's do it.
So
let's get all the love.
Okay.
Make a big heart. Multiply 3 times into infinity. 1, 2, and big third. Mayurma. And that's for you, Nithya Shanti ji. So many Mayurmas all coming your way. That's our gratitude to your time and wisdom that you've shared with us today. Thank you so much. Shilpa, over to you.
Lovely. Great to be here. Thank you all.
So much. Just before we wind up, I'd like to just call upon Mrs. Neha Gupta and Megha Sharma to just judge the best question.
Good evening. On behalf of Leaford Healthcare Limited, I, Neha Gupta, thank you all for being present here for today's event. A special thank to Shri Nithya Shanti ji, who has marked his presence today in time of such a crisis and enlightened of all of us with his miraculous thoughts. Extending a little on spiritual front, I too believe that doctrine of karma is impartial. It's not biased in favor or against anyone. The best question, which I think goes to Mansi Goyal. To conclude, once again, thank you everyone to be part of this knowledge elevating event. Thank you. Thank you, Nithya Shanti ji. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nithya
Thank you,
Shanti.
Neha.
Thank you so much, Nithya Shanti, for guiding our flow fraternity. We've really gone today from being, from seeking to actually being under all your guidance and all the knowledge that you've left us with today. And it has been a really unique experience, and we can't wait to witness the second part of this on Friday. So I'm sure, ladies, we've not had enough. We never do. We would like to go ahead for the next meeting, which is on this Friday, the 14th at 4 p.m. So looking forward to see you all yet again. Thank you so much, Nithya Shanti ji. Thank you.
Thank you
You
so
bet.
much, Nithya
Goodbye.
Shanti. Thank you.
Megha has to
before we close, on behalf of Warika, I'm Megha Sharma. I would like to extend our thank you to Mr. Nithya Shanti ji. It was an insightful session, very, very insightful. Especially, I can absolutely relate to what we have learned today, and we all need a lot of the infinity all around us. And so from my perspective, the question taken up by Monica Chaudhary was very, very good, and we'd like to give her a hamper. Yes.
Thank you, Megha. Thank you. So we have the two winners
Thank
for
you.
today,
Thank you.
Mansi and Monica Chaudhary.
Perfect.
All right. Be well. See you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you,
Thank
Nithya
you.
Shanti. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's gone, he left.
Yes.
Yes.
Can't thank you enough for a wonderful session, girls.
So good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So good, Divya.
Amazing. It was
Thank you,
beautiful.
thank you, Divya.
It's
Lovely
always
session.
wonderful to hear it.
Just the
Thank
perfect.
you, Divya. Very nice.
Usha ji, how are you?
Thank you, Divya. I'm fine.
Good
Thank
to
you. How are
see
you?
you. So good to see you. I hope everyone's safe and sound.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so
Lovely
much.
session. Lovely session. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Lovely
Thank you so
session.
much.
Hi. Hi, how are
Great time
you?
back, Dekha. Oh my God, how nice to see you.
I know. It's lovely.
Usha ji is our past president, a very senior past president,
Shilpi.
national president.
Where are you,
Yes,
Shilpi?
Come on,
yes.
Shilpi. Oh my God, everybody is here.
I can't see
I
you
know.
now.
Great.
Shilpi,
How are you,
where are
Monica?
you?
Fine.
बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ आप कैसे हो शैली
I can see
बस
Malvika
बढ़िया
ji.
एकदम
She's not.
my video.
Malvika ji, turn on your video. That's okay, Shilpi. I hope you're doing well. Malvika ji.
How are you all?
Very well, everyone. So far, so good. We're all having our own bit of challenges, but God is kind. God is everything's wonderful.
Radhika,
How
awesome event.
wonderful. How wonderful.
How wonderful.
शिल्पी शिल्पी अपना
Yeah, Monica.
फोन करो शक्ल दिखाओ
Hi, Shilpi.
शक्ल दिखाओ
रीफोर्ड हेल्थकेयर लिमिटेड, जिसको आपके विश्वास ने बनाया है देश की सर्वश्रेष्ठ फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी।
Our founding fathers began their journey in 1887, and today, as the fifth generation, we have carried their passion for precise and perfect selections. Dry fruit consumption in India has been driven by tradition. So by modernizing the traditional nut through innovation, packaging and flavors, I founded Nutty Gritties in 2009, catering to the snacking needs of millennials, young working population as well as Generation Z. Nutty Gritties is fresh, crunchy, flavorful and has a variety that caters to all. Right from choosing the finest quality dry fruits from around the globe to efficiently sorting, grading, roasting, flavoring and packaging them, we do everything with love and care. The flavored nuts are blended and dry roasted without a single drop of oil. Conscious about promoting better health, we will only make products that we will consume ourselves and give our families. With 130 years of nuts behind our legacy, we aim to grow this category many-fold beyond traditional consumption and bring India on the global food map.
Free and paraben-free brand. And since our name is on the product, it better be good. There's a story behind everything we create. So our passion, when it's combined with all our personalities, then it really brings life to the brand. We started this journey 8 years back with manufacturing toiletries for hotels. So if you've stayed in any of the brands like Marriott, Hilton, Sheraton, Westin for the past few years, then you surely must have experienced our brands.
started getting amazing feedbacks and inquiries from hotel guests to buy products for their personal use, making us realize that it's time for retail. And here we are.